Okay. All right. Well, let's start the meeting. February 22nd, just about 9 a.m. First item on the Water Board meeting agenda is approval of the January 2021 meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, Laurel.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Bob.
Go ahead.
Okay. Discussion.
Yeah, I just want to thank Lynn for doing such a wonderful job with her minutes. This is the discussion to make.
I'll echo that. That was my impression as well. Tremendous job and quite a book of events. So
thank you for not noticing all the typos that I noticed.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next item. Approval of the January 2021 financials.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Laurel, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mary Lou,
I second it.
thank you. Any discussion on the financials?
I'd just like to bring up that if you notice that your balance sheet looks a little understated in many areas. I talked with Bill about that, and it's because the year end was not closed out yet in the system. So once that's done, then all the figures will fall in place like they're supposed to for our next reports that we get.
Okay. Any other discussions regarding the financials? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is water report. Greg Parrish. Take her away.
Okay. This month, our water samples are done for the month. Also, we did our first quarter stage 2 disinfectants. Those all came back good. We'll be reading meters tomorrow for the month. Also, I had ordered 2 of the stores fittings, and we got those installed on 2 hydrants. I've gotten some feedback from the fire department that those fittings are fine. So I'd like to order remaining 28 fittings for the year and get them installed. I believe from our past discussion that we were going to install 30 a year. So I would like to go ahead and order the last 28. And then the fire department will provide us with a list on where they want those installed, where to start. Also, we've been putting data in our GIS system for main valves. I'm going to start a valve exercise program. I'd like to get that started as soon as the weather breaks. Also, I've been reviewing new ordinances and policies. We'll cover that in old business. Lynn was able to get Austin enrolled in the water certification class, which starts in April. She also ordered his books, so we should be getting all that stuff in. Also, we're switching our phones to FirstNet. FirstNet is a network that's through AT&T that gives us priority on cell coverage if there was a catastrophic event, so that we can still use our phones for emergency planning. We will also save money monthly, and the water department will receive its own itemized bill instead of trying to divide it between all the departments like we're doing now. It's going to save us some money. And that's really all I have to report on this month, if anybody has any questions.
Is there, relative to the cell service, is that fairly similar rate-wise monthly to what we're paying now, or?
It's going to be cheaper. It's unlimited data. It's a real good plan. I'm not sure exactly what our bill is a month now for me and Austin. is it like, I think it's a little over $100, isn't it, Lynn?
No, not for the cell phone.
No?
I could be wrong, but I was gonna say it was more like 30 a month, but I'm not positive now that you say it.
Yeah, it's a lateral move. It's not gonna cost us any more money, I don't think, or it's gonna be about the same.
But it sounds like that you're going to, you know, certainly in a catastrophe scenario, you have some higher level of priority to make your calls than others would.
Right, yeah, I guess, I'm not exactly sure how that all works, but yes, from what we're understanding is if there's something catastrophic and cell towers get overwhelmed, our phones take priority over anybody else's phones, an average user, so.
Okay.
But that's the difference.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Greg. Any questions? You're finished with your report, Greg?
yes, sir.
Okay, any questions for Greg of any kind?
Greg, since I have your attention, I just wanted to ask, someone called and said, what's going on with the hydrants that are buried in the snow?
Mm-hmm.
As if they expected you guys to be doing it. So is that something the residents are supposed to do, is dig out their hydrants?
No, we dug them out.
Did you? Okay.
Yes, yeah, I mean, they were buried. You couldn't see a lot of them.
Right.
So Tom and Brent from the street department, we went out Friday and we got them all opened up. So they're all exposed now. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's what I told them. I thought you guys would be taking care of it. And I think it was on Friday when the message came in.
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay,
yeah, those are done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Greg, what are we paying for those stores fittings again? I forgot.
I'm
$162.50.
like, pardon?
$162.50.
Yeah, 152 as
162.
162?
50. Yeah.
I'm hearing two different numbers there. But
Okay, Jen,
152.
it's 162.50.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else for Greg? Thank you very much, Greg.
Okay.
Next on our agenda is old business. First item, update new charges on water bill. So I think the first, there are a few items listed under that heading. The first one is water department charge for fire protection fee, amount and name. Laurel, your name is there.
Yeah, the public hearing will be this coming Monday, March 1st. I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but it spells out in there the amount of what it is and the fire protection service. So I'm not sure, maybe Bob LeMay could, or Mary Lou will do the public hearing. And I'm not sure if we were doing the first reading and public hearing at the same time. And I don't know if we have an adoption date yet.
I think we're hoping to do it all on the same date.
Okay, Carl had thought you might be able to. He was going to check with Chris Willoughby to see that could be done. So, okay, good.
Okay. The next item under that heading is late fees added for refuse leaf charge. Lynn.
Yeah, I should have said the question mark at the end of that because it hasn't happened yet. But I have talked with Laurel about there is no late fee currently, the way that Civics set up our bill. People who pay refuse and leaf never pay a late fee, even if they don't pay their bill. So we were wanting to add that, but we have not done that historically. So it needs board approval.
Okay,
Do we
so
want to make a motion or more discussion first, or?
no, let's get a motion out there. Laura, why don't you make a motion to that regard? And I don't know if we're going to define what the late fee would be,
Not on the new water bill. It divides up the charges between water and town is the main change. And that underneath the town charges, there's another line that says late fee. It's not going to be called water penalty anymore because that's misleading. So late fee will mean anything that they didn't pay, gets a charge.
Right. I'm going to make a motion that we change, that we charge late fees on the whole portion of the bill that is not paid.
Second.
Okay, so that would obviously encompass late water payments, leaf refuse payments, any late payment of any kind related to our bill.
Correct.
Okay, so that's then been seconded by Mary Lou. Discussion.
So is that bill going to say what you're late on? I mean, what part of the bill you're late on? Because otherwise you're going to be getting phone calls saying, you says I'm late, what am I late on?
Well, yeah,
Balance.
that's their bill.
Late on the balance.
Right now, the way it figures it, it's just figures late penalties on just the water portion of the bill.
Right.
But if they're not paying the leaf and refuge, why should they skate on not paying a penalty on that? So
Right.
That's why we're talking. So it would be on the total bill. If they owed $100, they didn't pay it, the penalty would be on the whole $100.
I mean, we could say late fee will be on the balance of the bill that comes, through us. Because I think, if we call it the water bill, I think there's been confusion about us calling it the water bill when in fact it's a water in town bill, but, it's the balance of that whole bill.
So
Yeah,
if somebody pays their water bill, but they don't pay the leaf, is it going to say late fee on the leaf?
No, it will be late fee on the balance.
Okay, so it's not going to define what they're late on.
That would take up a lot of space on that water bill to have to add all
Right,
that
that's
extra.
my concern. Okay.
I think that's really okay if you kind of draw a parallel to our NIPSCO bill
Sure.
and you only pay the electric side and not the gas, say, well, it's just going to show up as a past due balance.
Okay.
So I think that's the same thing that I envision for our bills going out.
And I actually think that's exactly what it says, Rick. I think it says late fee on past due amount. That's actually what it currently says on my draft.
Yeah,
Late fee on past due amount, yeah.
I think that's perfect. Okay, any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item is letters to customers regarding charges. Who will be writing?
Yeah, that's me again. I just wanted to confirm if we're having the public hearing, are we also going to have the letter that really describes the storm utility drain and the fire protection fee so that all the customers really understand what the extra charges are if they haven't attended the public meeting, whatever? Is there going to be a letter that goes out and who's going to be writing that? I know we talked about this before, but I don't remember what the finality of it was.
My understanding, and Mary Lou, if you could help me on that, I thought that from Bill's office, and I thought maybe you were helping Bill or someone to write that letter to send out to all the residents explaining what this all encompassed. I haven't heard anything else, but maybe Mary Lou, you could add something to that.
I don't know that I know we asked him to because when you and I were in there one day, Laura, we were very adamant, and along with Lynn's guidance, that many people don't watch our meetings. And so I will make it a point. I will call him after this meeting and ask him where we stand on it, because we would like to see that on there. And I'm sure he'll get it out. Okay.
And then the question is, are we going to mail that to everyone?
What would you like?
Well, I know that, Bill has his email, but that doesn't cover everybody. So, that could be a problem. I think the letter is really more of a courtesy than a necessity.
Okay.
I mean, that could be something that we can check with Carl Sender on.
And also post it on the website.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
So that's the vehicle.
Right. So that would save a lot of money to do it that way. Bill can send the letter out with his emails and then, also post it on the website. I think that's what we should do.
So do you want it US mail too, or no?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's costly to do that. And since
Okay.
we do have a vehicle to do it with the emails and the website, let's do it that way.
I do, now that you said something, I do know that he was working on it because he was looking at some other guides on what he wanted to say. So he might be about done with it. But
Okay.
I'll check and I'll let everybody know back today.
And Mary Lou, let's try and also make sure that somewhere in here, he kind of talks about the fact that, the town is anticipating decreased revenues due to COVID and, decrease in casino money and those sort of things. And that's why the town has decided to pass that cost on to the residents who benefit from it.
Be happy to. I don't know. I know no one takes the News Dispatch anymore, but on the front page, I think it was Friday, LaPorte is raising their sewer and water fees. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm struck that newspaper maybe ought to change the name of it to the LaPorte News Dispatch, because it seems like there's a lot more LaPorte news than there is Michigan City anymore.
Isn't that the truth? And they talk about stormwater in there, so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think we've covered the letter to customers, and the next item would be Indiana utility receipt taxes 2019 and 2020. Laurel, could you speak to us regarding those?
Right. I talked to Paul Applegate and he asked me if I would fax over to him a copy of what we actually send in. I did that last week and I had asked him to, look at it and he would show it to Matt, who is the person who'll be working on it with us. And then also I asked him if he would get me a quote on his services. I have not heard back yet from him, although I do know that accountants are kind of busy at this time of year. So I'll give him a call later today and get that information.
Okay.
I believe, if memory serves me, and Lynn can confirm this, that it has to be filed by April 15th.
Laurel,
So
the 2019 paperwork, they had asked that be filed ASAP because it's
okay.
past due, because we're going to be asking for, instead of them penalizing for the no fees that were paid in
Right.
2020, she said the paying the fees and doing the 2020 paperwork should all happen by the 15th of April. She said it's not going to help to get it sooner, but that the 2019 return should be done as soon as possible.
Oh, okay. I'm okay. I was not aware, but I'll give Paul a call today and tell him.
Because we are going to need to have either, I don't know who would be writing the letter, maybe they would be, or we have to write it to.
Yeah,
the
Paul actually
Stapler.
Paul said he would write that letter for
Yeah,
us.
that will ask for forgiveness, basically, for
Yeah.
the late, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Laurel. Next item is progress regarding writing new ordinances. Mary Lou and Greg.
Okay, I did an ordinance which is going to be probably an addendum to our tap fees. It's just a rough draft. Like when installing or making repairs due to customers' requests, such as a new water tap or service line upgrades, the customer is responsible for surface replacement, such as roads, driveways, landscaping. This will be determined before or after such replacement when upgrades are proposed, or after replacement to determine what needs to be restored and also costs. Resurfacing charges are in addition to the existing tap fees and line replacement. The water department may subcontract to make these repairs if necessary. And I think that should go, I don't know how we want to do that, but that should probably go with our tap fee ordinance or policy, so that, you know, kind of makes that all one policy. Or, and I'm sorry, Mary Lou, I didn't get that sent over to you so that you can look at it.
That's okay. I thought, well, I didn't get that done, so.
But that's it as far as, and I know we had talked about in the past about utility easement. And after Dr. LeMay mentioned that we do have one in place through the town and it's under state statute, I figured we would just go with that one. So that's all I have on that.
Okay, so kind of in process, you'll work with Mary Lou on getting her a copy of
Yes.
exactly what we're after, and then we can move it further once you get that to Mary Lou.
Right. Okay. Now what is that? What will be the next step? Who actually would write that? Does that have to go to like the attorney or something, or I don't know what the process is for that.
Yeah, the way the APC works with new ordinances, and I would imagine your policies, you probably want to run it by the attorney so he can change whatever needs to be changed. I guess one thing I was just a little unclear on is, do we want the water department to be responsible in any way for any resurfacing or replacement? It seems to me if somebody wants, say, a tap moved or something, and it means their wall has to be destroyed, it ought to be on them to replace it. Or if their driveway is, having to be destroyed, it ought to be totally on them. I don't know that you guys want to be responsible for any resurfacing, right?
Right. I'm thinking that would fall under the right-of-way, the town's right-of-way one. This one's basically what we needed to say. I mean, obviously it can be revamped a little bit, but is it, our water mains are primarily under the roads now. So for me to make a new tap or move a tap, we're going to have to cut into the asphalt. Me and Tom talked about this, and what we've done in the past is we just put cold patch back in there. Well, we're spending all this money for these roads to get resurfaced. Cold patch isn't going to be, that's not the way to do it. So we would have to subcontract that out and have somebody come in and do a hot patch and put it back the way it's supposed to be put back at the customer's expense. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, you're talking about resurfacing the road, not their driveway then.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Thank you for that, Greg. Ordinances regarding billing uniformity and standards. And I had Lynn, you were going to talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was just made abundantly clear to me during the process of me pulling all the data for the audit that anything that is not uniform between the accounts, no matter what it is, that we have to have that in writing, that it's been approved by the board. So I know that I drew up that document with the special circumstances for the water board to see that, I spelled out, and I honestly don't know which we have ordinances and which ones we don't. Like, do we have an ordinance regarding the empty lots? Do we have an ordinance now for the secondary meter accounts? You know, all of that. Each of those that have something that's different from all the charges being made to each account. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, and we all have that list.
Okay. So anything that is out of the usual would appear non-uniform, that all of those things need to be backed up by ordinances. And so I just want to make sure that when we're in the process of updating our ordinances, that all billing matters are taken care of at the same time.
Well, I think we might consider approving these as they exist on this list and not have it, excuse me, and not wait until we actually draft and have ordinances.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's going to take some time. Would it make more sense to actually proceed that way rather than, we certainly will go after ordinances, but there's quite a list here and several accounts that we could be working on getting resolved until those ordinances are actually in place.
Right. So there's a few more decisions that need to be made in the unresolved questions section. I guess more than anything, I just want to make sure it's on our to-do list. Make sure that it happens between now and the next time that we get audited.
So let's start at the top. We agreed in principle, I think, that we were going to look back 3 years. And I think that makes a lot of sense. That seems to be the way that, the county approaches the property tax bills and other things. So I think that would be our plan. Again, that could be, in fact, probably something that needs to be in an ordinance so that if there is ever an occasion that comes up where we've had some kind of billing error, billing mistake, that we should say that, certainly in an ordinance, so that then that's consistent across all customers. So I think at least for, that's an item, that's an ordinance item. So then the three headings right at the top, the empty lot, the secondary meter account, and leaf only versus leaf refuse charges. If we were to, Lynn, approve, say, the 3 years and approve proceeding with those three, empty lot, the secondary, and the leaf only, then that would free you up to start working on those. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. So I guess what you're saying is that the question would be, before we address the back charges with customers, that we would have the ordinance already written. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I think that's okay, but from a time perspective, if we approved you to proceed with this group while an ordinance is being written.
Well, and also, Rick, the list of the empty lots, actually there's a seventh person that I remembered after doing the list that already has this bill coming to them. There's only one person on that list that had not been receiving the bill for the 8272, number 6. Everybody else has already been paying it. And the number 7 one I'll add when I revise this. So I have on the, this is the first page, is the special circumstances, and then on the back pages are the ones that actually need the back charges negotiated. The back page says, mistakes that were corrected and should we be charging them 3 years of back charges. So that's actually the list I'm going to be pulling from.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I was on the second page first here. So.
Well, no, okay. Yeah. So the second page is the one that's relevant in terms of who needs to be contacted regarding negotiating back charges.
Okay. So do you want to come back to that and maybe go through the special circumstance accounts first?
Well, each of those mistakes made relate to the special circumstances.
Okay.
Right. So that the one of the special circumstances is if there's an empty lot that the person has to pay the 8272, which of course is also going to be going up once we, put the new charges on the bill. It'll be more than 8272 for an empty lot. And then the secondary meter account, there's only one person, but it would be important to charge him for 3 years, hopefully, because he's gone without it for like 15 years apparently. And then the leaf only versus the leaf refuse, those are the people that were only paying for leaf, but they should have been paying for both.
Right.
So we just need to be able to say who are those people that need to be paying for both. Because there's, I think, 2 people on that original list. They're okay with paying leaf only. I think it's, the people on Brook Hollow, they're allowed to pay leaf only.
Okay, I guess certainly, I don't have my, my head around all of these different accounts and, the ultimate mechanics of getting this collected, et cetera. So I guess I would somewhat leave it to you. Is it helpful to give you the approval to chase these while we then go put an ordinance in place? Or do you think it just makes better sense because you're going to have additional issues like this that seem to come up on a somewhat often basis?
Well, actually, Rick, hopefully not. I went through all the accounts, and I think once we resolve the people that I have listed on the side where I say these are the people where there were mistakes, all of those people, we've already started moving forward. They're all being charged the correct fees now. But those are the people that we would discuss the past 2 years. I don't expect that we're going to continue to make mistakes. I think that it's really clear now. I mean, I'm dealing with the services being put on their account in the accurate way, and I've updated all of them. The unresolved question people are the ones that we still need to discuss, but otherwise, I don't expect there to be ongoing mistakes.
Okay. So if we were to agree we're going back 3 years and agree to the items listed under empty lot, secondary meter account, and leaf only versus leaf refuse charges, if we were to make a motion and agree to those, then you can start chasing those down.
I assume so, yes.
Okay.
And, I think that the term you may want to use rather than ordinance is policy. And I think you guys can establish policy on your own. Whereas ordinance, I think, implies this big, long process going to have to go through the town council. I don't think you need that. So I think policy is the word you want to use. And if you guys write the policy, I think you guys can pass it. So I'll make it a lot, check with Chris and see, but I think that's the way you can do it.
Yeah, I think the State Board of Accounts said it needs to be an ordinance.
Ordinance from the town council.
I'm pretty sure she said, she asked about a particular person that's on the, a particular entity that's on the unresolved questions section that we talked about last time, but we're waiting until March to be more specific about that. And I can double check my notes, but I believe she said there needs to be an ordinance for anyone who's not paying what everybody else pays.
Would you reach out to her specifically instead of looking at your notes? And then reach out via an email
Okay,
and tell her exactly what we're discussing here right now today. And
is a
then,
policy sufficient? Yeah.
yeah, is a policy of the water department sufficient rather than going to the painstaking ordinance process?
Okay. I
Okay.
will do that.
Okay. So I'll make a motion based on what you have presented, Lynn, which the headings of mistake corrected back 3 years. I make a motion we would go 3 years. And then I also make a motion with regard to the 3 headings: empty lot, secondary meter account, and the third one being leaf only versus leaf refuse charges, that we would give you the authority, assuming we have a positive vote, to go ahead and proceed with those.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
do we have a second?
I second it.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
And if you do find out that you need an ordinance, get it to me and we'll try and grease the wheels.
Okay, we'll do Bob.
okay. What else am I missing, Lynn, on your couple pages here?
Only at that, I think we talked last time that we weren't going to talk specifics about the accounts that were referenced in the audit.
Right?
But on my list of unresolved questions, number 2 was specifically mentioned in the audit that we have to be able to address that one in particular. That needs to be done. And the other ones, I'm just anticipating that if they had pulled tests, accounts for number 1 or number 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe even 7, they would have said, well, why do they get a special deal? So that we should probably delay till next meeting. We talked about doing that at the March 22nd meeting.
Okay, so,
The unresolved questions just needs to be put on next month's agenda.
okay, so we can hold that until, what I would say with regard to customer number 2 there, it seems to me that if this particular customer, which is a commercial customer, does actually pay for their own refuse and dumpsters and other things like that, the question is, should they be paying that on our bill?
Right, because this was a test account that the auditor had pulled. And she specifically said to me, they're not doing what everybody else is doing, why not? And I believe that's when she said if you have an account like that, you have to have an ordinance that spelled out that you give special circumstances to perhaps,
Sure.
commercial perhaps.
Unless we address this separately and have this as an approved that customers of this type do not need to pay that.
That's right. And see, I'm anticipating that if she had drawn a test item from 3, 4, 5, 6, and perhaps even 7, number 7, if she had drawn test items from any of those commercial entities, well, actually, the number 7 isn't a commercial entity, are we? Anyway, that she could have had the same comment that she had for number 2.
Yep.
She could have said, where's the permission slip for this? Now, what I have to find out from her, and I will, what we were just discussing is whether she was saying policy versus ordinance. So I will find that out. And if she says, no, these need to be ordinances, then that is a bigger process, obviously.
Yes.
And this is what I'm anticipating, particularly for the commercial accounts.
Yeah.
Number one is just something that has been lingering because I identified it very late and I asked Greg about it, and Greg was almost clear, but not completely clear about whether or not we have to charge that person. If we don't, we may need to address that too.
Okay, so I agree, this should go on. Everything under unresolved questions should go on for next month. And yet, as between now and next month, I would appreciate it if you would, reach out to some of the board members individually to kind of get a feeling for how we might approach this with some of the commercial customers.
Right.
And just to keep this dialogue moving, so we're better prepared to then move on it at next month's meeting.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're then to back charges, Lynn?
Well, we just discussed that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, pardon me. So the next item would be small claims for customer, Mary Lou.
Rick, I haven't heard back from Chris, but I'll check in with him today and get back to everybody.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
sure. There are no other items listed under old business, but I'm adding one that, as of the minutes stated last meeting, I was going to contact Mike Konasek regarding the assistant superintendent job description.
Oh,
I have-
right.
I have not done that yet, so that's on my list still. So I'll reach out to Mike here shortly.
Thank you, Rick. I noticed that I had forgotten to put that one on, so thank you for remembering.
No, that's okay. So is there any other old business to come before us? Okay. New business. Individualized letters to big balance customers. Lynn, you want to talk to us about that?
Yes, this came up because of COVID, that instead of turning people's water off in the spirit of if there's financial difficulty, now's not the time to not have people have water. But in reality, what's happening is that I have several accounts where the balance is getting large. And I wanted to be able to anticipate that if the COVID restrictions are going to be removed, that these people have got some kind of a plan in mind for how they're going to pay off, a balance that could be, heading toward $1,000, because that doesn't seem to be very helpful either. We haven't been turning off your water, but now you owe us all this money and we will turn off your water. So that was why I raised the question in my mind. And then I identified who the customers are. And I think we do need to send a letter. I had drafted a letter that I shared with you guys through email. And I think at this point, one of the customers has been resolved already. And otherwise, I'd like to send out that letter to the people that are on the list. So that's all about that. All of you received a drafted letter and gave me ideas about it. So what I can do is send the final version of the draft to all of you just for the final blessing on it, and I'll send those letters out.
Lynn, you did include a time frame for compliance.
Yes, it was going to be that they'd have to contact us by April 1st to basically set up a plan with us for how they're going to pay off their balance, and that we would hold them to the plan. One of the customers on the list, I had already discussed it with him, and he had said, okay, I'll pay $250 a month, but he hasn't been paying $250 a month. He's done it maybe every other month. And so I think we need to say, if you don't hold to your payment plan, then that's another reason that the water would be shut off once we start shutting off water. I mean, that's the difficulty. We don't know when we're going to start, with the shut off policy again. But I just don't want people, not even thinking about it. We need to think about it for them if they're not thinking about it themselves. That's the main reason for the letters. But I'll say, if you haven't contacted us by April 1st, we will put you on our list of people who will receive shut-off letters when we institute that policy. So it's kind of harsh, but we'll word it more nicely. I will word it more nicely.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. I know I made some comments. I'm sure everybody else did too. So if you get the next draft out, we're, as far as I'm concerned, 99% there.
We are, yeah.
Just get an email back, blessing from each of the, the water board members, and then you're good to go.
Good. That's great.
Okay.
I have a question. I know when the pandemic first started that, maybe in the summer, was a while, but I did call Michigan City Water Department and asked them if they were turning off water. And they said no, but they would be happy if we would like to start the process because they would follow real quick. So, but I don't know what they're doing now. If they're turning off water now, it's kind of hard to say. Maybe we should check and see what they're doing.
I'll call and find out what they're doing. I'll get over to DC and see what they're doing.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, good, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay.
Okay, I think we're down to February billing adjustments.
Yes, 4 of them that I'm requesting. Of the request to remove the penalty, these were, there's a theme. The theme is, I've never been late before. I didn't get my bill on time. That's the general theme. The last person on that list who has a 636 charge, he's highlighting because he says he did put a check in the water payment box. And that's the first time anyone's told me that. So, of course, that was a red alert for me because I did not receive the check. I mean, I don't know where the check is. So I wrote him back and said it had not been cashed by the bank. And I told him that we are meticulous about getting the checks out of the water box, but anyone could make an error and that we would change his late fee. And he was fine with that. And he sent a check for the full amount due and told me he would keep an eye on whether that gets, deposited by the bank, but I don't know where his check is. So I'm highlighting that for all the obvious reasons. We don't want any of those going underground. We want to make sure that I'm telling you guys if that happens and that it's documented. So for those 3 people, it's the same question. We didn't receive the bill on time, didn't know, never been late before, and they all have good accounts. So I would actually ask that you allow me to remove those. And the last
I make a motion that we go ahead and accept those adjustments.
Those 3. And the billing adjustment one, that's a different one. That's not removing a water penalty. That's actually making a billing adjustment for a much larger amount. And Mary Lou knows this case, this particular customer. What happened was that after Mary Lou made an initial adjustment, I think, Mary Lou, what Civic and I figured out was that it had been done as a payment adjustment instead of a billing adjustment, and that sent the software into crisis. They started charging very large water penalties. The first month, the guy had not paid 72 cents on his bill, and he got charged a late fee of $22.53 for that late fee of 72 cents. So I began to looking at this guy's account because it was just going up every month. And then I realized, these late fees are ridiculous. So when I went on the phone with Civic, they told me there's no way to correct back for it's almost a year's worth of late fees that have been in that range. And what the Civic software person and I talked about was that the best way to do it was for me to hand calculate exactly what the bill should have been. And it was not hard for me to do that. I know how to do it. I know what we charge our late fees on. And she said, once you figure out the exact amount that he has overpaid, do it as a billing adjustment, make thorough notes in the account and move on. So that is in fact what I did. And that's the amount that I needed to reimburse him for the larger than life late fees. He's still getting a late fee, but now it's corrected. Okay, so that's why that one's so big.
Okay, so Rick, do you want to make the motion regarding all 4 of those?
All of them, yes, that we accept as a board the adjustments that Lynn recommends.
I second it.
Any discussion further? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have new business items? Okay, I have one. Basically, I would like to start the process of looking for a part-time person in the water department office. I think we had some hesitation because of COVID and other issues, and there probably still some of those exist. But I'd like to at least start moving towards staffing our office properly, which needs to be done. And so I'd like us to start moving in that direction. So, Mary Lou, I think you're obviously on the Human Resource Committee. And what do you recommend as far as the best way that we can start to move towards filling that position?
Well, I recommend that we, prior to me coming on the council, we had a person who helped us recruit for different openings, put ads in the Beecher or paper. And they also had a whole booklet on, coaching people how to interview. And I would suggest we do it on a job basis and have this person help us. Actually, they helped recruit when Barb was retiring. So they have a lot of our policies, they have our ordinances, they have our job descriptions. And I think that would be a fair way to find somebody. And we want them about 2 days a week, because Lynn didn't sign up to do this for 40 plus hours. So she's gotten everything in order, and it's so nice to go in there now and have very few problems. So that's my recommendation.
Okay, so this would be on a, we're not hiring somebody for some recurring kind of a thing. It would just be a specific engagement to fill this part-time position, which frankly is kind of bookkeeper oriented, really.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're looking for is somebody that has experience with payables.
Good accounting, understanding of ledgers and budgets.
Right.
That's important.
Okay, so I think certainly if we vote to engage this individual, those are going to have to be highlighted for the search.
Mm-hmm.
So is that in the form of a motion, Mary Lou? You're making a motion?
I make a motion that we it's like a job basis. It's not, like you said, it's not a reoccurring thing, that we contact this person and see if they would be interested in helping us fill this position. And then we go through all the proper procedures of posting it and having the interviews, and they have all the forms and they have the forms so that we can reference check, because people need to sign off if we're going to call their prior employers, and they take care of all that.
I'll second that. Any further discussion?
Mary Lou, can you tell us who it is?
It's actually Pam Krieger with a K.
Yep.
I'm interested, Mary Lou, if you have any estimate of what the cost would be as opposed to our just publishing want ads through the Beecher and the News Dispatch. Any idea? Or?
Well, I don't think we would want to, I think we'd want to do it on a job basis, not, how much time they put in it. But this way we've covered all our bases as far as recruiting, it's like an employment package. So I can find out.
I'm just curious more than anything else. I mean, are we talking about someone for 2 days a week, 4 hours a day, or are we, what are we?
I think it would be, they would post, they'll get the position in the beacher. Well, first of all, we'll make sure the job description is correct, so that when we receive resumes, we're looking at those based on what we said we needed. And I would think, maybe the first day they'd spend a couple days, and then as the resumes came in, then they would be screening those and getting back to us. So it would be a job basis, not an hourly thing or a daily thing.
And Pam also did the background, checking on references and everything. So, she did a really good job for us.
What process did you use when you hired Lynn?
We used Mary Lou and Laurel.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys did this.
Well,
I didn't know it existed, that she had a packet and I really didn't, because I was new. And so that's how we did it. And because we had another lady and then we brought people in and the board interviewed them last, probably February?
January. Yeah.
Was it January? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there were only the 2 candidates presented.
Well, actually, we had interviewed probably Laurel 4 or 5, but we got it down to the 2 candidates. Yeah. So we do have somebody that's interested, that wants to interview with us, and so we were happy to consider them too.
And do we have a job description already?
I think we're pretty close, Bob, because we had worked up one when we were looking for Lynn and this other person. So we're real close. I just need Laurel to look over it and see if she agrees with it.
I guess I'm struck that we hired a police chief and we didn't really use the recruiter for that, I don't think, did we?
We had Zip recruiters, and we didn't, here's the point. When we hired the police chief, I didn't know that we had somebody that would have put a packet together so we could do the reference checks and have him sign off of things.
Okay.
And so I didn't know that. I'm sorry, I was remiss. That was my first year on the council.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so this will be, we'll see what's out there.
Don't we want the HR committee involved in this though, Mary Lou?
of course.
Sure.
We don't go to bed early.
And then do we need some parameters as to how much it's going to cost the water department for this HR person's job?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I can find out.
I guess my thought is you want to like do this yesterday, right?
I think Lynn, when the weather breaks, Lynn would like a relief, or maybe she'd like a relief before then. And
Lynn, how urgent is this process? Because I'm just thinking if we're going to do this, or if you're going to do this, I'm sorry, I'm not part of the committee.
It's not urgent. It's not
Okay.
urgent. I just want,
Okay.
I mean, COVID has been helpful for not having anything else to do besides work for the water board.
Yeah, know that feeling. Here I am at
What
this
else is
meeting,
there
right?
Are you trying to give us an idea, Lynn, about your situation? So you're trying to go from X number of hours down to smaller hours? Is that what's?
John, I was hired to do 3 days a week, and the second person was going to do 2 days a week. And after the second person left, right as COVID was starting, I basically have been doing everything. And it's not been 3 days a week. It's been a lot. So I want to be able to eventually go back to my original commitment, which is 3 days, but it's not urgent now. I mean, I'm literally, I just wake up and think about the water department every day.
God bless you.
Talking about sharing duties between 2 individuals, the duties are similar, really? Is that what we're saying? Or?
It's probably going to be the
Yes.
difference between the accounting responsibilities that I do not have a background in accounting, and I would be so happy if we had someone who did, so that I don't have to go back to school.
And on that regard, Lynn, you
Yeah.
and I had a brief discussion about it, but I think just based on looking at the audits and the recommendations of the state, that, a bookkeeping,
Mhm.
accounting background is absolutely
Yeah.
necessary.
I
Absolutely.
agree.
My guess would be that using the term accounting might be a bit intimidating. I think bookkeeping,
The thing is,
reconciliation, all of those activities are something that would be very beneficial to the town and to the water department.
would be moving out
Go
to,
ahead, Bob.
with your family.
So I think we're at the point where we need to decide whether we're going to vote on this motion or we're going to table it until we determine the cost of this engagement and then decide to vote on it at the next meeting. So can we have some discussion on that?
Well, even if you.
Well, I could get a cost for us and and we could table it till next month if you want to do it that way.
Either that or you throw a number out and you say, as long as it doesn't exceed this, we're.
Okay, well, let me throw out, just to give you guys an example, when we had to have probably about 15 to 20 job descriptions rewritten, like for the town, we paid this same person for the job and we paid $1,000. So I'm looking at when they help us with the drug testing, with the park program, with all of that, we paid $500 a month. So I would think not to exceed $500.
Oh, I think it would be more than that, Mary Lou.
You do?
Yes.
I would say it should be more like 1,000 or 1,500.
Yes,
you know,
I agree with you, Rick.
Just to
Okay.
get this cushion here, and you're gonna have the ultimate authority from this board to discuss with this person and make sure you feel comfortable before you actually engage her. So
Okay.
we're not absolutely guaranteeing this engagement to this person if it comes with your approval, but based on I would say in my mind I had 1,000 or 1,500. I don't know what what the
I guess I was being frugal. Laurel, were you comfortable with her when she did the search for?
Oh, definitely. And there was a lot of work that was involved in that. And she prepared all this stuff and sent it all to the, all the board members. I would say absolutely no less. I mean, and you could ask her, let's see what she says. Don't tell her anything.
Okay.
But I think it's, at least 1,000 and,
All right, so let's say 1,500 then. Let's do 1,500. You have the ultimate authority, Mary Lou, to engage. Ultimately, you think that she's qualified and she's willing to do it for less than that. And if there are complications, we just we'll save it till next meeting.
Okay. Yeah,
I think-
I'll make that call.
Yeah, I guess my concern is this public meeting and we're kind of negotiating against ourselves here. We probably should stop this process and find out what their offer is.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure she'd be very good, but I doubt if she'd be any better than the choice Mary Lou and Laurel made with Lynn.
Thanks, Bob. That was wonderful.
Yeah, she's got big shoes to fill there.
Yeah.
So, any more discussion?
Mm-mm.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any additional new business to come before the board? Hearing none, there's a section listed on our agenda. Anything from the floor? So, anybody from the floor?
Rick, does that mean like public comment sort of thing, or just you guys?
Yep, it's time for public comments.
I was looking at the financials from the end of the year, and I just had a couple of questions. I don't know if Laurel's got that stuff with her, or I can share the screen. I've got it. I can do that if you prefer.
No, that's, I go ahead and ask what you want.
We had a miscellaneous expense item at the end of the year that was budgeted at about $4,000, and it came in at about 48,000. I didn't know if that was something.
Well, one of the things, we bought a truck last year.
Is that what that 47 represents?
Yep.
Okay. And then at the end of the year, there's a $5,000 in the check register. There's a $5,000 check to the Long Beach Water Company, and I didn't know what, or to the Long Beach Water Department. That I didn't quite understand why you'd be writing a check to yourself.
We transfer funds from our operating funds to our capital improvement bank account to cover emergency funds, and also when we need to redo the water tower and everything, which is a very costly item. So on a monthly basis, we transfer $5,000 from one account to the other.
Well, that was the annual. Okay, so I see. So every month that happens is what you're saying.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Just as an aside, then I'm trying to understand the asset accounts a little better. You got your capital improvement fund at the end of the year at 413,000 roughly. And then you showed your water operating account at 1,022,000 approximately. So does that represent cash then, or are those just asset accounts that don't? I'm trying to get a handle on how much cash in that balance sheet exists.
Those two are cash accounts.
So those are the only two cash accounts then, pretty much?
Correct.
Okay, so we're looking at about $1.4 million and change in cash at the end of the year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. The only other thing I wanted to, when we're going before the people to ask for this $30,000 that's been written in with an ordinance that you guys have collected from the town over the years, we don't, again, I've asked this question and not in the right context, I don't think, but I'm going to ask it again. You've got a hydrant expense account that you budgeted at 5,000 and you spent about 1,800. So I think it might behoove us to figure out a way to balance those out. In other words,
well, actually, that hydrant account that you're looking at, I believe that's actually where we purchase hydrants, where we purchase parts for the hydrants.
yeah, it says hydrant
Materials.
maintenance. I guess my point would be, it'd be nice. I've asked this before, and you guys just said, well, we've always collected 30. I'm trying to get some justification for the 30 in my mind.
Oh, compared to the money that we actually put out for materials? Well, actually, the fire protection fee also covers the water tower, the booster stations, all the infrastructure under the streets for everything. So it's not just, okay, we spend, you're saying $1,800 or whatever. It's all of that. And I think that actually you'd probably have Carl Sunder explain a little better what that fee actually, we called it, it was called a hydrant fee, when in fact it's not a hydrant fee, it's a fire protection fee and everything that goes along with it. It's just not replacing a hydrant or adding a new hydrant. It's the whole.
I understand in the general sense what you're describing, Laurel, and I don't have any disagreement with that. But I think when we change this from a mere transaction between the town and the water board to a fee that we kind of have to defend to the people, it would be nice for us to be able to account for it more specifically. I understand your
Right.
general statement, but if somebody pours into these statements, they're going to ask that question, I believe. And I
Right,
think
and actually, in the letter that we're sending out to everyone, it should be explained exactly what, this fee will cover. That was my understanding, so that people not only understand, well, just that we're taking, that we're charging them to, not through the town, but tell them why, not only the fact that, financially, the town, has a lot of obligations now, but also what these charges encompass, like the storm drains fee, that will be explained, what it's doing. The fire protection fee, it'll be explained what this is for. So it's an understanding of what, it's just not, well, here, we decided to bill you directly now on your water bill. Here's what this fee encompasses for.
I get that. I understand the descriptive. What I'm trying to say is that is a specific amount of money. And I still don't have a warm fuzzy about how we arrive at that dollar figure. I'm not suggesting that you need to tell me that today, but when we get into this public here, hold on a second.
And I guess
when we get into this public hearing, that people are going to ask that question. Where do we come up with that number? And I don't have a good answer at this writing.
I don't either, but I know that there was an ordinance, there was a survey done, and the survey was done 20 years ago based on, what this fee should be. 20 years ago, a lot of things have gone up since then. And I think Carl Sender would have all of that information too. So that would be something that we can talk with him about.
Carl Cinder's the one that set that up originally. Whenever we upgraded the system, there must be a formula or something that they use, that they come up with those figures. I don't know if it's by service connection. I really don't know. I don't know the answer to that question either, but.
Well, I think we have to be prepared as the town council and you guys to answer these sorts of questions when we introduce this new fee. So when I look at if these cash accounts that you just, confirm for me, if you guys are sitting on about $1.4 million and we're asking for this new fee, we have to have a narrative that explains it in some sort of logical fashion with some sort of detail, I think. Your general narrative about covering water tower and some of these other things, if I'm John Q. Public, I might make the argument that, okay, your water fee that you're charging me should cover those sorts of things. I'm just saying that anecdotally. I'm not asking for an answer, but I think we need to have a narrative that's pretty succinct. Otherwise, I think we're going to get crucified.
I think that's a Carl Sender. Can you talk, Carl, Laurel?
Yeah, I can call him.
And that way we'll have the narrative that's generated by him. And that will be then shared.
One other thing I'd like to ask on your proposed, I know Sender sent out a letter last week, I think, or so, maybe 2 weeks ago, or an email, I should say. And the advertisement for the rates for the new fees showed a roughly $4 number through 2026. Did you give those numbers to him, Laurel, or how did that number get developed?
I gave him the numbers, but they were the numbers that regarding how much these quick releases cost. And since we're doing a 5-year plan on that, we're recouping our money in 5 years. And that's why the fee will change.
Well, I guess I'm curious as to how you got to that amount. If I look at what Greg just shared with us, which is $162.50, and you're going to get 30 of those each year, is that what it was, Greg? Or you've already done 30 and you're getting another 30 this year?
No, we're going to do 30 a year.
Okay, 30 at the $162.50. That's about $4,000, right? $5,000 or so, let's call it. If my math is correct, 162.50 times
48.5, yeah.
that's a little less than $5,000. And I thought originally we were going to be somewhere around 250.
John, can I interject here?
Yeah.
The 250 is the correct number. You were talking, I think, about a number that was closer to 4 that was on the draft, on the water bill. The water bill draft, that's where that number came in, and it was an error, and it was corrected. And what we're saying at this point is 250. That got corrected early in the process when we realized that the 4 was inaccurate. So
Well,
in the
right,
minutes,
but
it says 250, and on the water bill draft right now, it's still, the draft number is 250, not 4.
Okay, I'm not talking about what's on your water bill draft. I'm talking about the actual legal advertisement that Carl Sender sent that was ostensibly put in the paper, I believe, that talks about roughly $4. So I just want to get with you guys and understand what your intent is on that fee.
Was that fee with the stormwater added to that fee?
No, that's a separate fee. What we had done, and I had thought that I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but I thought the original quote for these was the $172. Lynn, does that sound familiar? So it was $172.
Well, there was an original quote that was very high, but that one got thrown out quickly. And then it was 170.
Okay, so 170 times how many hydrants we have, and what is there, 139?
139.
And then that was divided by 5 years and then by 12 months.
Okay, somewhere along the line, the math's not working out, because if you're going to buy 30 a year, you're talking about 30 times 162.50.
Well, but the 162.50 was probably not the figure that I actually gave to Carl Sender, because I was told a different, I didn't have it. I know it wasn't any sense involved with it. So,
Well, even if we use 170, Laurel, at 30, that's still, roughly $5,000. So if you take 1,100 homes times the difference between 4 and 250, that's $150 times 12. You're talking about $20,000 each year for that $1.50 differential. So I think we're overstating what we need for these hydrant fittings. So I guess I want to make sure before this hearing that we're all on the same page about what we're asking for on that fee. I think $4 is a little overstated.
okay.
But I think what we're missing here is the overall fire protection fee. And I believe what Laurel did was she added the 250 to that. Am I on the wrong page here, or? I think that's where the $4.
You guys saw what I saw, but the letter that Carl Sender sent in said that from the first implementation through 2026, it was going to be roughly $4,
Yeah, $397.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we're overstating what we need there.
Okay, the figure that I had was $170 is what I had given to. So I'll go back and check that with Carl.
Well, you can adjust it. I'm not. This is not a panic mode sort of thing. All we have to do is between now and the hearing, we have to establish exactly what we want that fee to be.
Right, and that's Monday, so we do need to act on it.
Yeah, a week from the
So
day.
what do you? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're going to talk to Carl about the narrative so that we have a precise narrative for anybody that is, questions at the public hearing. And then I think at the same time, we need to completely, you're right, completely nail down the accurate number.
Laurel and Rick, I found my notes that what we use, Laurel, is 139 times 170.
Right.
And I think that gave us 23,6001 divided by 5. And then 4,720 divided by 1,114 houses gave us $4.24. So that's where that number came up.
Run that again for me, Mary Lou.
Here's what we had. We had 139 times 170 equals 23,6001.
Right.
Divided by 5 years.
Okay, that's $4,700 a year.
Yeah, 4,720 divided by 1,114 homes. So that gave us a number of 424.
But
Yeah,
that
you
has to be
gotta divide
divided
that
by the month.
number of months you're collecting it, Mary.
Pardon me?
You're collecting it every month. It's not
That's
just
an annual.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, wait a minute.
And Mary Lou, that annual, that was the mistake that I had made initially, was doing the annual instead of by the month. And that's why it went from 4 to 250.
Okay.
And that was during the last meeting. We were texting back and forth saying, what's wrong with my math? And then it was like divided by 12. I was like, right, divided by 12.
So I think your fee needs to be considerably less than that $4.
Okay, I'll check to see how Carl figured that out, and then we'll correct it.
And now that fee is in addition to the original fire protection
Correct,
fee, right? Okay.
correct.
Do we know what that charge is?
$220 per customer per month.
Okay, that's for the annual fire protection.
Right.
And then
That
the
town
storage
has it.
fittings is going to be the additional $2.50 or whatever. Okay.
No, it's not going to be an additional $2.
No,
That's my
it's
point.
not.
Whatever
It
the
doesn't need to be $2.
Whatever the difference is.
Whatever it truly is, right?
Right.
And did our announcement announcing this public hearing talk about the amounts?
Yes.
I guess the question is that going to be a problem if we've announced that this is what it's going to be and then at the hearing we change it? That could create an issue in terms of somebody saying, you guys can't change this at the last minute, even if it's going down. Is anybody, maybe I need to talk to Chris about that.
Yeah, Bob, I would disagree with that just as a principle. If in fact there has been an adjustment that reduces it, let's make that adjustment and make it part of the public meeting.
Yeah, I guess my only concern is this is Long Beach.
Okay.
So talk to Chris.
Yeah.
I talked to Chris.
So we need to find out what the numbers are, and I'll talk to Chris in the meantime, see if the numbers go down, if we're okay.
Okay, so Laurel, you'll work on the exact number and also the narrative of what we're going to share at the public hearing. And then Bob, you'll talk to Chris, and then we'll see, are we on track?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from the floor?
Hi, it's Anita Remages.
Hi, Anita, go ahead.
Hi, Anita Remages, 2300 Florimond in Long Beach. I have two comments. One is you had a discussion about late fees on the refuse and leaf charge. I don't understand, because always on my bill it says if paid by a certain date or paid after a certain date, there's always a late fee. So are residents picking and choosing what to pay? Do they not pay the refuse and leaf charge, but pay the water charge? Am I the only one that if I look at a bill and it says, if paid after such and such date, this is what you owe and that's what I pay? There just seems to have been, over the last few months with the water board, an inordinate amount of time spent on letters to residents and late fees and charges and who's not paying and how do we get them to pay. And so that's one question. My other question is about what's being called the fire protection fee, because in my mind, if you have a fire protection fee on my water bill, it sounds like it's going to the fire department. I have to tell you, listening to your discussion, and I know it's an open discussion, but and especially directed to John Wall's questions to Laurel, it seems like specifically, the whole discussion and the fact that you're having a public meeting a week from tonight is coming across as really vague, really disjointed. It's someone told someone, it was 20 years ago, it was a rough estimate. Carl Sender knows. It's $4.24 a month. No, it's $4.24 a year. If it's $4.24 a year, I can pay that. But I do want to know where it's going and where it's been. And if it's called a fire protection fee, is it going to the fire department? Is it the water department? Just sitting and listening to it, it makes no sense to me at all what you're asking for. So I'm looking forward to the public hearing on Monday. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the comments. I think we're, Anita, thank you for those. I think we're certainly headed in the right direction for clarification of the exact amount. Certainly that fee has been a fee that has been going on a long time. I don't know that anybody's done a time study. It doesn't seem like it, but certainly based on 20 years worth, there's certainly been increases probably anyways, but I look forward to getting the exact number from Carl Sender. I look forward to getting the narrative. And I think the only comment I can tell you with regard to fire protection fee that I would make is that numerous towns call this fee fire protection fee. And numerous towns, including the most recently that I reviewed, was Fort Wayne, Indiana. And they have a complete document, numerous pages specifically related to the fire protection fee. And I can only tell you that without getting into that document in too much detail, which is probably readily available on the internet as well, that typically water utilities, in terms of all of their infrastructure, the tank that we have on top of Tank Hill, et cetera, all of those infrastructure items, strictly because of fire protection alone, probably double the cost that the water utility would need to have just to distribute water to your house. So every step of the process from an infrastructure perspective of water department is very much related to fire protection and the water that's made available to fight fires. And it's a lot more than just a hydrant fitting or the hydrant itself. It's certainly main sizes, tanks, pressure, all of those considerations that we need to provide as a town to protect our residents against fire. But truly, it's fire protection. So that's really all I'm going to say on that. It was very interesting and enlightening document that virtually every step of the infrastructure process that relates to our water department and every other water department for every city is fire protection. very heavy fire protection infrastructure for that purpose. So
I don't think anybody makes the argument that the water system doesn't help with fire protection, Rick. I don't think that's anybody's making that argument. You know, that I think you look at what water systems provide. They provide water to your home, and they provide fire protection, and nobody's going to make the argument against that logic. All I'm trying to tell you is, if I'm looking at increasing somebody's fees for a certain number of dollars, and they're going to look, you know, and I've got to get some kind of comfort level that that's necessary given the finances of the water department. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. If you guys have a surplus of $1.4 million at the end of last year, and you continue to say you need 30,000 in addition from the town, I need a narrative for that. So if we're saying, you know, that we want to split this, and that's what we're doing as a town council, we've decided that we want to increase some user fees to help us with our financial situation, because we have no ability to raise additional taxes because of the caps and the circuit breakers. That's a very reasonable narrative for the town council relative to user fees, and that includes the stormwater fee and what you guys are trying to call the fire protection fee. But again, that's why I'm trying to ask these questions now in this forum rather than Monday night when everybody else is paying attention.
Agreed.
We need to be able to say to them, we're sitting on $1.4 million, but we still need this 30. And that's why I was hoping to get something out of you guys that explained that to me, that that's necessary. Just to go back and this is to Nita's point as well, just to go back and say we've been doing it for 20 years, that's not a good narrative.
Agreed. So we will get that together, and certainly, I think I've shared this before. As Carl Sender has worked with us as a utility, as his company, he and his company work with many other utilities. He has always been the guide for us relative to what funds we have on hand, what we charge per unit, for all those kinds of views relative to utility. We have typically never made those rate decisions or cash decisions. And we certainly have an obligation to carry a considerable amount of cash on hand, I think, as it relates to the SRF loans that we have in place. So, you know, we have not really made those decisions at that level. We have been guided by Carl Sender's office for those. And so I think you're absolutely right. I think it needs to be discussed. There needs to be the narrative, and we need to have the exact numbers, and we will get those. I mean, we certainly are happy to do so. Anything else from the floor? Okay.
Rick, I do have one more thing.
Yep.
I got my homework done already. We do, Michigan City is charging shut-off fees, not turning off water for non-payment as of January 13th of this year. So I guess if we wanted to shut off water, I guess we can. Just for a side note.
Okay. All right, thanks, Greg.
Yep.
The next
I'm sorry, what does that mean then, in terms of what we tell the customers with the big balances that will be starting to cut off?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we want to go through the standard policy as far as shutting off water for non-payment if they, they can't make arrangements or don't make an arrangement for you to make payments and they stick by those payments and we have the right to shut them off.
I appreciate that.
Okay, but are we setting a date for April 1st?
Aye.
Or are we going to start shutting off water sooner than April 1st? Because I want to get these letters will be going out with the bills that I send out next Monday on March 1st.
I would say go ahead and continue on what you're doing, but I'm just adding that if we need to, we can shut off water.
Hey, Rick, and Greg, and Lynn, the one person, because we can see who they are, they don't get water anyway. It's kind of like that one person that we dealt with on Roslyn. So they're not going to care if we shut their water off, but they still have to pay the base and the capital and the leaf. And I've had that conversation with that homeowner and it's not going to affect them because nobody's living there.
So Mary Lou, if you would send that information to me, I don't know which person you're talking about, but there are people on the list that do need their water.
Okay.
I'm concerned about anyone whose water we would shut off because they owe a lot of money while we haven't been requiring them to pay in full.
Okay. I'm coming over later, so
Yeah.
I'll see you then.
But that's only one of a few more people. So I'm concerned about what my letter needs to say about the big balances being if we are now saying, oh, Michigan City's turning off their water already. Well, if we were to suddenly turn off people's water in March, that kind of defeats the purpose of the letter I was planning to send out because the whole point was to give them advance notice.
I would rather give them advance notice.
So April 1st.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Lynn, in the past, we always tried to avoid shutting people's water off. We don't want to shut people's water off.
Right.
So whatever the process is, I mean, sometimes there's no other option, but. So yeah, I would say I would agree with Mary Lou and Laurel just to go ahead and proceed with your letters and then we'll take
basically we would be saying as of April 1st, we will begin shutting water off for non-payment.
Right.
And that they have to have an agreement with us by then.
Right. Yeah, and I was just going to say, and typically in the past with Barb and with Ron, I know that they would allow, as long as they made some kind of arrangement and paid something every month, we would not shut the water off.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg and Lynn.
Okay, I think we're down to approval of claim. Laurel, do you want to talk to us about?
Yeah. Okay, I approved 18 claims, check numbers 54175 to 54192 in the amount of $71,258.50. And I found them to be in good order and I make a motion to approve.
I second. Any discussion on the claims? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Think we're at the end of the meeting. Thank you, everybody. And
Thank you,
the next meeting, March 22nd, 9 a.m. And we have via Zoom. So the question before we part, what is the plan to be in person again? Had some questions regarding that, and I would say, as far as I'm concerned, maybe we would take, as a water board, take the lead from the town, that when the council decides that it's safe to meet in person again, that we would probably do the same. And so I guess, from the town council perspective, maybe if you would keep us in the loop regarding your plans in doing that, then we'll kind of do that in lockstep.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other
The
business?
state legislature is actually considering a statute that might just extend Zoom meetings into perpetuity. that would be a wonderful thing as far as I'm concerned.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
That's what it is. That's what it is. You know, we do have people on this board that are occasionally not all the time here. And for those that travel or do other things, it certainly allows all of that to happen. So I'm not completely against that. So let's just see how this develops a little bit more. We don't have to make a decision right now on anything, obviously, but yeah, it was just a thought. So is there a motion to adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you.
bye.
Have a good week.
You too.